Do you have anything you want to say about this replay before we start watching it? Looks like you're offlane Mars.
Okay, so I get filled offlane a decent amount, um, which is great because I've kind of watched guides for all the roles, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
understand all the heroes in the game now and most of the mechanics. I think there might be some that I'm not sure about, but it seems like nobody actually plays offlane heroes, or at least like in my games so far. I know I'm pretty new. It feels like people really like position 1 carries and they just pick them in 3 here,
Mm-hmm.
which it feels like a double-edged sword because it feels like if I don't know how to put a game away decently early, these games go very, very long.
They do,
Like
yes.
they go to like the hour mark almost every time. Obviously I've had a lot of like 35-minute games, but a lot of these games are like pulling to the hour, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I get leads in a lot of the games as off lane, but I'm not. I, I don't know. I can't force my team into the enemy jungle, and I feel like I try and force too much on my own, maybe, and I end up like everybody plays so scared. Everybody just wants to AFK farm and get their
Mm-hmm.
items, and the problem is like if I pick an actual offlaner and the enemy team like pick like a position 1 in their 3 role, it just feels like I get outscaled so hard that I feel pretty useless at like the 50-minute mark when teams pretty much just flip it over over Roche. Um,
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So I'll tell you that like in terms of like your improvement, like getting to a higher rank, like all of like what you would need to really worry about improving on is going to be in like the first like 25 minutes,
okay,
because if you can play your first 25 minutes like a good player, you will be so far ahead um of like everybody else that like, you know, if you show up to like a fight, like you guys will just win. um
right, right.
and
Maybe
that's
I'm
not to say that like you have to like feel like you need to like solo carry the game, but like if we can like get you doing the right things and like thinking the right way, it'll just happen.
okay because that's also one thing I wanted to mention is maybe I'm not pushing a lead, or not
Mm-hmm.
understanding how to like what I should be doing anyway. Like I said, I'm fairly new, but I'm trying to study a decent amount, and also it feels like the laning phase lasts a very, very long time compared to like the immortal replays that I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like sometimes they end laning phase at like 6 minutes, 7 minutes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like these games, it can be like 15 minutes and the tier one's still up.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like people at this level just don't know like how to play properly in the first like, I mean the first 25 minutes really, but even if you're just talking about the lane, like they don't really know how to lane properly and like get a lot out of the lane, and so they will just like you can't take towers, you know, until you're strong enough, right? And it just takes lower level players longer, like for their heroes to be strong enough to like take towers, if you know what I mean. Um,
right, because they
and it'll
most of
just
them are
partially be if you're looking to like play off like the right power spikes, right? Like do lower MMR players like play around the 5 minute catapult? Like no, they don't. So things like that also help contribute to getting towers like earlier and the laning ending faster.
right. I actually just watched the video on that a few days ago where it was a BSJ coaching where he said that it was a Timbersaw replay,
Mm-hmm.
and I've played a couple of games of Timbersaw since, and he said that like when the catapult comes, that's like improving your win rate on off lane is like playing around that catapult, like you just said. And so I started to try and like either try and tank for the turret just a little bit, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes, or like draw aggro to maybe keep the cannon alive until the next wave crashes, so that it will like it'll aggro the creeps first, and the catapult can stay alive again,
Mm-hmm.
or for a little longer anyway. Um,
Yeah, those are definitely the types of things you want to be doing.
and um, so in the laning phase, you're gonna see me practice the like pump faking or whatever that people really call it in this game, or
Okay. Yeah.
because I'm so I only use attack move normally in League. I only use my right click for movement, and I treat attack move like a separate command basically. So that way I can like never miss when I actually want to hit something. But in
Hmm.
this game, see, they don't have denies in League, so I'm having to get used to um like canceling my attack to
Hmm.
like, because it's like this whole like mind game thing around like both the enemy and you attacking the same creep.
Right. You don't have to like. It's not like you just have to time it on your end. Like you have to take into account that they are gonna try and fuck with
Right.
you.
And I'm also trying to peel some of that muscle memory of the
Hmm.
heavy micro of like moving back and forth, because in League everything is like so like spacing is so important in League, and like just misstepping can cause you to die.
Hmm.
So, but I find in Dota sometimes, especially when you're trying to deny, people are standing still a lot more,
Hmm.
because like the creep is so much more important. And in this game it's not quite as like, oh, if you get hit by this skill shot, then you might lose like half your health. That's kind of not how Dota. So I'm trying to like reprogram myself a bit. um and I just started to practice the like denying the range creep thing, like aggroing, but I'm still not doing it enough, because it's like I said, I have a notebook with the like some things like I'm trying to do, and it's just it's a lot in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And in terms of like concepts like this, you really just have to be able to practice. So, um, like as I watch, like I'll kind of let you know what I think you should keep doing, and like because you're like so familiar with like how MOBAs work, but you're like a new player, I feel like there are things that you'll like see and or like read about or like watch a video about and then try and do that honestly might not be that helpful for you to be trying to do like this early. So let's start watching and like I'll maybe something will come up. I'm just a little worried you're gonna be like trying to do too much at once and like you're gonna
Right.
be doing a lot of things suboptimally
Badly.
instead of just focusing on doing it right and then not worrying about some other things. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So like, so let's watch this first wave. So you pull to the range creep, which is fine on Mars. It's pretty good, and you get this last hit. And here you're pump faking for the deny, which is okay. You missed it. And here, it's really important that you like pay attention to this range creep and like care about getting it, because here you're like, for whatever reason, like these creeps stopped. I think something was attacking this creep and it stopped or something. I don't know. But this creep's not being attacked, so you're like worrying about denying this creep. I can see this. And meanwhile, what I really care about is the fact that this creep got really low, and like you're not going to be in a position to like contest it, because now you have to right click this other creep, which you do, and this other creep, this range creep up here, you're missing. So like
Right. Okay.
this is pretty minor. I mean, or not minor, but it's just like one wave, so I don't want to like talk about it forever. But really, just the optimal thing to do here is be willing to use your abilities. So like if you just walk up like right here, and then you can W and you can hit, because it's like a cone ability, right? Are you? I'm not sure how familiar you are with all the heroes' abilities. So like, let me know if you want me to explain something more.
No,
Um,
you're good. Before I play a character in game, I normally try and go watch a high rated like player guide.
okay, good.
So
Yeah.
so for Mars, I watched like the BSJ had like an hour guide on
Mm-hmm.
Mars,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I watched the whole thing. I'm sure there's like a lot of stuff I like don't remember, but his his overall kit, I think I have it like decent.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, you just walk up and you need to God's Rebuke and ideally hit the CM and this creep, and then you right click this creep to kill it. So then like that combines harass with like securing the creep, and then like you're not missing this creep because the way you play here, you're just not even going for this creep here. Um,
Right.
so one of the things I would tell you to work on for sure or like care about is like getting every CS, um, like every creep that you can, and not ignoring creeps that are dying, because you had a bunch of opportunities to kill that creep, and then the CM just got a free deny because you just kind of ignored it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so that creep right there, like, I'm not gonna like harp on you about, because like you were just trying to pull and like you turned around for it and you just kind of mistimed it, and like that's something you'll just naturally get better at. Versus like that creep that you didn't go for at all. Like, I do want to harp on you a little bit for that, because I don't want to see that. Like, I want to see you going for it even if you don't get it.
Right.
Or like
Okay.
if you go for it and it ends up being like, oh, you actually can't go for that creep, because if you do, they're gonna like they're gonna do half your HP. Like, we can talk about that if that ever happens, but like I need you to see you going for all the creeps first.
Okay.
So like just think like no like free denies for them. Like, I want every creep, or I want to try to get every creep. And like if two are gonna die at the same time and you can't get them, like that's what it is, you know. But I want just you going for every creep, or like having the intent of like trying to go for every creep. So this is other than that, you're playing really well. Like, your CS is really nice. Like, I can tell you like play MOBAs because you got like these decent mechanics. So like this creep, okay. So that's good. I like that you did that. You mistimed it a little bit. You could have done it earlier, but I like that you did it. That's what I want to see. I was gonna say you could be harassing a little bit more, or like right clicking a little bit more, the enemy heroes, because you are a strong offlane hero, and you just like early trades will favor you as long as you're not getting like hit by like all 4 of their creeps and their 2 heroes at the same time. So do you know what I mean by that, or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trading lane.
I'm
Okay.
I'm a little too like AFK right now.
Just
Only
a
getting last
little,
hits. Right.
and honestly, if you're a newer player, I'd rather you focus on the creeps. I only bring it up because like I know that you have like the experience, so it's something you could like kind of look to incorporate. So
Right.
like something like that, like a casual W is okay, but to really optimize that, like just every time you're about to hit a CS, if you can like use your W to like get the creep and hit them, it's like super good. Even if you could get the creep without using the ability, like if you can hit them and use the ability, that's like even better, because there's no reason to sit on full mana. Like, you should use your ability. You should use your abilities sometimes to like harass. Like, otherwise you're just sitting at full mana for no reason. Like, it's a resource, right? You're trading your mana for like their health. And then like B, it like helps you get the creep anyways. And like C, it'll like, if you're doing that regularly, they're gonna start to be like afraid of you, right? Like, if every time this guy like gets close to a creep that's about to die and you W him, he's gonna learn that like he shouldn't do that, and that gives you more control over the lane and like makes him more scared, and that's just to your advantage. You get what I mean?
Right.
So like, if you do nothing, if you regularly are very passive in your lane, they're not going to be afraid of you, and they're going to get away with things they shouldn't. Versus if you're regularly like kind of aggressive, like if you watch like that like if you watch like the BSJ Smurf videos, like of his offlane Mars or of his like carry Juggernaut, like you'll notice he's constantly like throwing in little pot shots at them, or like always like using his abilities to like secure a creep at the same time and like damage them. And like when you play that way, it feels very difficult as the opponent to like handle it. And so like, I'm not telling you to like focus really hard on doing that right now. But
No,
it's something, if you
I
start to
understand.
incorporate, like you'll notice that your lanes feel kind of easy if you really start to incorporate this.
Right. Cause I mean that's one thing very similar to League. Like I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people don't realize like how important autos are early. And I know
Hmm.
like I'm not
Hmm.
doing it here, but I do know in League like autos early are like, if you can get like 3 autos, it's almost like an ability's worth of damage just in
Exactly,
like auto
exactly.
attack.
Yeah, so you know
So
exactly why it's important. It's the same in Dota. I know that you're just like learning the game and you're like thinking about like, 10 million other things, and that's why you're like not doing it a ton right. Like, you're just learning. So if you're already familiar with it, like, like I said, I'd rather you like focus on getting every CS and like, just casually using your W to like secure creeps and also like do a little bit of damage, versus like, you don't really need to be trying to like constantly harass them with right clicks at this phase, because it's just going to cause you to like mess up other things. But it's good that you're like aware of that. So yeah, your CSing is really good. It's really nice. Okay, so here, this is an example where sometimes it's like not worth going for a deny. It's usually for range creeps, but it can be this case in like for melee creeps too. Like if they have a bunch of creeps that are like hitting and you're waiting to like get that last deny of the wave or whatever before the creeps like start running forward, this is a situation that you will often lose a bunch of HP if the opponent punishes you for it. So like honestly at your current level the opponent's not going to punish you for this a lot, but here they do. But even like sometimes it's just not worth getting this deny, because if you notice like they use both their abilities on you and you lost half your HP, right? And it's just not worth getting that one deny that you got. Would you agree?
Right, yeah, I understand.
So
because like the minions are like another hero's worth of damage.
Absolutely, they do a lot of damage. And if you were a ranged hero, it would be even worse, because like I don't know if you know, but like melee heroes have this like innate damage block against creeps, and ranged heroes don't. So if you're a ranged hero, it's even worse because these creeps would have done even more damage to you. So like I just need you to recognize this scenario of like they have a lot of creeps, and your creeps are about to die. So like this is a scenario where these denies are usually not worth it. Unless like you're feeling really strong, and if they walk up, like you definitely want to fight them. But like usually with like 5 creeps here for them and yours are about to die, usually you're not strong enough, especially this early in the game, to like be able to handle this. Like this 2v, even if it's a 2v2 plus these creeps, does not go well for you.
Right, I need to thin the wave first. Okay.
Yeah. So just recognize this scenario. A lot of times, like I said, it'll be like the last range creep, right? And it could be like up here. Like you're trying to deny that one range creep, but then they have a full wave that's going to be chasing you. And this goes especially when the enemies have slows or disables, because then that gives the creeps more time to like pound you and them more time to pound you as you're like running away.
Okay.
So that's what happens here. Like you're in that situation, and they like, I'm surprised they did, honestly, but they kind of punished you guys. And like, yes, like, you know, you did some damage back to them too, but that's just suboptimal, because the damage you did to them, you can do that at any point without like tanking 5 creeps normally. So
right.
I just wanted to see that as like kind of a bad trade for you, and that's why. It's because they punished that situation where you like went for that last deny.
Right, and probably better players would just back off after they win that trade, and they wouldn't even give me that like trade back. So it would
exactly.
Even worse than it is right here.
Exactly. You don't need to worry about that for a long time, but you do have the correct idea. Alright, so you have the lane right outside your tower, and you keep it outside your tower. Nice. I was wondering if you're going to do this. You're farming really well, so I don't really have any complaints about how this is going. I kind of wait for something else to happen in the lane, because if it keeps going the way it's going, it's just good. Like you notice you're like way out farming the Spectre. That's just how it works when the lane's like way back here and you're just a stronger hero. Okay, so yeah, there's good pressure. This guy's like not getting, this guy didn't get any of those last hits. Okay, so they pulled, so something else is happening now, so this will be good, because then we talk about something else. Okay, that's fine. That was okay. You ideally don't want to have to spear there, because spear costs so much mana. Like BSJ talks about this in his guide. But you really don't want to spear. So like here, it's not terrible that you're kind of like posturing at them a little bit, because they're losing creeps under tower. So like the Spectre like doesn't, like it is suboptimal for him to be harassing you instead of hitting these creeps right now. So like it's kind of okay that you're doing this. But as soon as these creeps are like, as soon as your creeps die at this point, like now there's nothing the Spectre needs to be doing otherwise. So it's not good for you anymore to be like continuing this trade, because they've got like kind of more full resources and you don't have a lot of regen. Your lack of regen here, I'm not saying you should have had the regen beforehand. I'm just saying, given the situation of you not having a lot of regen, it's not really good for you to just take this casual trade over here, because you want to be able to keep laning. So if you like, it's just not going to end well. Because now they do this 2v1, you're kind of forced to spear. Like I don't think it's bad that you speared, but it's bad that you like were in the situation where you needed to spear. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So you're flying out parts of a soul ring. So this is like a kind of a key concept for you to start working on is um, like having enough regen and like buying regen enough to stay in lane because like you I think will like improve quickly and you'll start running these situations a lot sooner than like your average like guardian level player is going to do. But like here, like you had just been laning a bit, and like you lost a little bit of HP and mana. You're like kind of okay, especially if you have stick charges. But like then this engagement happens and you end up walking away. The Spectre turns around. So like here, you need to recognize this situation as like this is bad, and I need to like get regen so that I can keep laning. Because the worst thing you can do early on in lanes is like not be able to lane because you got really low. So this is where like you need to have like a switch in your head that's like this is bad, like I need to buy regen or like go back to base or something. It kind of depends on exactly how low you are. But like let's watch because I feel like if you try and lane right now, it's not going to go very well. Yeah, you can't even walk up to creeps because you're kind of scared. Okay, so you do buy a salve. I'm watching your like what's in your quick buy right now. You're not sending it out yet. Okay, you just sent it out, and you kind of like just hung around. So basically, you see what I mean? Like you're not laning anymore, right?
Right.
Like you've stopped laning completely because you don't have the resources. So here's what like a good player will do, and you're not going to be able to do this as efficiently as like a high level player yet because like you're new and you just don't have these thought processes ingrained. But like right here, you're like kind of get away. You need to get a salve, ideally a mango. You don't really have enough gold for both. You almost do. Like if you buy a salve, it's 100 gold now, and a mango's 60. So if you wait like 5 seconds, you have enough for a mango salve to like add to the stash. So you need to like immediately buy those optimally. You would immediately buy those items and fly them out right away, and then you like walk over here, and what you do is you drop both these bracers on the ground and use your magic wand, and then pick your bracers back up. Are you familiar with like that concept of like? Okay.
Yeah, I just watched it a few days ago. I seen a mid player drop all his items before he like bottled. I think it was
Stick, bottle, exactly. Or like if you have items that give you intelligence, you drop them before you use arcane boots. So you're familiar with that idea.
Right, and I just changed my hotkey for shop to F5 so that I can reach it without like taking my hand away to go all the way over because by default it's like P.
Mm-hmm.
So I just changed it because that was one thing of like I knew I needed regen, but like I knew I couldn't take my hand off the keys either, and the default. So I just changed that like 2 days ago, I think. So it's hopefully I can get like that part down, but like,
okay.
But yeah, I should have definitely shipped regen like much faster because now I mean I can't lane until I
exactly
like regen back up.
Exactly, and you're like still building the muscle memory, so that's fine. Like you'll just get faster at it over time. Like so moving into a better hotkey is good. Like I have my shop on. It's actually my mouse wheel up. So like when I mouse wheel up, it opens the shop, so I can just open it at any time because my hand's always on the mouse, right? And then just have the regen ready and like click. And then it's pretty important for your courier hotkeys to be like decent as well, or like to be familiar with using them, because like I have one button that I press that like the courier grabs anything in my stash and then instantly starts delivering it to me in one button. So if you can have that set up, that is super optimal, because then it's like one button to open your shop, one right click to buy, like, or two, whatever, one right click per item you need to buy, and then one button to have the courier send it all to you. And then it's like 4 buttons, once you do it over and over, it takes like a second to like do them all. And obviously you're not going to have that muscle memory yet. But if you have the right hotkeys, then the only thing slowing you down is like your thought processes and then like your muscle memory.
Right. I just set all that stuff up. The courier, I actually put mine on the mouse wheel. I think mouse wheel up is like select courier, and then like down is like deliver items from stash. I don't know if that's all one hotkey.
Look at the
Yeah,
courier
these
real
two:
quick.
select courier and courier deliver items. I have those two bound, and then I bound the burst and the shield, but that's the only 4 I have right now.
So it's actually here. It's not actually a specific button on the courier. It's not like a courier hotkey. It's actually the shop actions thing in the menu. So this courier deliver items. Have the courier deliver the items from your stash to you. So that means you don't have to click your courier at all. Like you would be clicked on your hero, and for me, like I have it on F4. Right. So I literally, in this situation, if I press F4 on my keyboard, my courier instantly starts bringing these items out to me. Like I don't have to click the courier at all. So this hotkey, you should this binds to like whatever is comfortable for you, and get in the habit of using it. It's super good.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one I have. I just didn't like say it correctly a second ago. That is the one I have in this Mars game set. It's just I knew I wanted to put like some region on here, but another thing before I forget, sorry if I'm going off on a tangent. Is there a reason that I see most people swap their like shop? Like I think mine is on the left by default, but I see like yours, BSJ's, like a lot of players I watch have their shop on the right. I don't know if that's just a preference thing or if there's like some like reasoning behind that.
I didn't even know the shop could be on the left. I didn't flip it. That's just the default for me. I've never played with the shop on the left.
Okay,
trying to see if there's like a hotkey for that. That's an interesting question. I don't.
Because my map is on the right.
Oh, it's because your map's on the right. That I think those must be tied together then. Like if you did the setting to move your map to the right, then I think it must automatically be putting your shop on the left.
Maybe I flipped it when I first downloaded DotA to match, because in League the map is on the lower right. So maybe when I first downloaded DotA all those years ago, maybe I just went ahead and switched it.
That would make sense.
So I wonder. So I'm the one playing with the flipped from.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's because of the map. I don't think there's a setting to like just have the shot be on the other side, but I know there is a setting for having the map on the other side, so that would make sense to me.
Okay. Wait, all right.
I guess it would be here if there is one.
Yeah, in the middle at the very bottom, show mini map on the right. So that's probably the one that flips it.
So if I do this and then I open my shop, yeah, see now my shop opens on the left.
Okay, all right.
That looks janky to me, but that's just because I'm not used to it.
Right. Okay.
Let me make sure I turn that off before I
start a game that's just later. One thing I wanted to note, and like I said, I didn't realize that I probably changed it years ago when I first downloaded DotA.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Good question. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you have the right idea. You buy it. Let's stop talking about it. It's a little slow, but like you'll just get better at it. So, then you die here, right? Yeah, because they just see you're really weak and they kind of punish that. Okay, you don't die. Your courier is coming. Okay, so we're using your items. They push the lane into you, which is very nice of them. Alright, and then they just walked away because that's just what low-level players do, is they just get bored, I guess, and like just completely walk away from the lane. I don't know what the Spectre's doing right now. Now you're free farming. That's good. That's reasonable. You have more creeps than them, so it's like good aggression. That spear I probably wouldn't do, just like because of what BSJ says. Like, I mean, if you're gonna do it, like probably Soul Ring first, just because like you're gonna be 6 relatively soon, and you're gonna want to be able to use your full combo. And if you're just casually chucking spears like this, even if it's like kind of efficient in terms of like the creeps are gonna be hitting him and like he's gonna be taking damage or whatever, it's just not worth the mana for you, because now you're at like half mana, or less than half mana. This is kind of bad. I don't know if you've experienced that, but like, yeah, like, I don't think that spear was worth it. You know what I mean?
He's very mana hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
that's actually like later on in the replay you'll see I keep the Tumbler's Toy, I think it's called, because it gives 200 mana. I think I hang on to it even though one of the like health regen items drop. They give like 4 HP regen, and
Right,
I
because you just want
wasn't
the mana. It's not a terrible idea,
right.
actually.
And so since I went double bracer, I was thinking like maybe I had enough HP regen that I just don't give up Tumbler's Toy because maybe the 200 mana is more valuable. But
Yeah,
I mean,
if as a newer player, like you'll have a harder time managing your mana, anyways. Typically on a hero like Mars, you're just flying yourself like 2 clarities every like minute or two. That's like kind of how you like you have this soul ring, and then you still just fly yourself clarities on top of it, just because you use mana to farm, and like without using mana to farm, you farm really slow.
right,
So.
and that's why I put the little clarity thing down there on the sticky bar.
Oh yeah,
Like
okay.
swap TP scroll and clarity because
Yeah, always
he's pretty
buy a
mana
clarity. I
hungry.
like it. Okay, so what's happening here? So you're almost 6 here. And yeah, try and get in the habit of like using your soul ring. Like you've bought it, and I don't think you've like used it once. Like you've been chucking out spears without using it. So if you just used it like once or twice, like you just have 150 more mana than you do right now, even with all the spears you're using. So it's why you buy it, so you can like throw out the spear, and it doesn't. The net cost is like 0 mana. Like 1 soul ring use and 1 spear use like don't cost mana. It just costs you the health.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking notes on a notepad. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
no problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
I definitely. Yeah, I definitely don't use Soul Ring enough. I think I'm also a little scared to give up the HP too. But like there, I'm full HP. There's like no reason for me to be scared.
Exactly, yeah. And it's just something you just gotta get in the habit of, because like, you know, there's no indicator, right, telling you need a soul ring. Like you just have to remember to push the button.
Right.
So even just like going into a lobby, like a demo lobby, and like just like practicing like using the combo on like creep waves like 10 times in a row, and like just including the soul ring in it every time, something like that will like just help kind of build that muscle memory.
Okay.
But I don't mind like any of that like fight stuff that happen. It'd be kind of like they're mid troll or whoever. I don't know. That troll ganked you, so it's okay that you're like using your abilities to like stay alive. Oh, he's still here. Interesting. Okay.
I actually think I could have killed there, but I can Troll activate his ult while he's stunned?
No, I don't think so. I think you have to have like the shard or something, or
Okay.
maybe
All
you
right.
can.
Okay. I don't think because I read on it afterwards, but I remember in the game, there's a hero like him in League, but he can activate his ult while he's stunned, and in the moment I couldn't remember if this guy could do that too. That's
Right,
just not
right.
me not knowing heroes well enough. Because I think maybe I could have just killed if I walked up and W'd him.
I'm not too worried about like whether you get the kills or not, honestly. I, in terms of like our coaching, I don't think it's that important.
Okay.
Like if I see you like severely messing like up like spellcasting or something, like I pointed out, but you know, whether you get a kill or not, I don't really care about. Just you know, it is what it is, right? So here, as soon as you like get away, and you're like this low HP, I need you to like go to base. So the concept here is that you are a strong offlaner, right? Like you've got the most CS in the game, because you're just good at CSing, and you have your ultimate up, right? And you've got 4 points in your spear. Like you are a huge threat when you are at full resources. Would you agree?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So like being able to be a huge threat and then just not being able to because you don't have the resources is very bad. And so I need you to recognize these situations. So like before, like you were like laning and you like lost some HP, like, and they were trading with you, and this troll showed up. It's like before, you were like kind of had enough HP and resources to like lane a little bit. You were you're kind of low. It was okay. At this point, like you're just too low. This is just too low. Like I would say you need to have like at least half mana and half HP to be even like kind of a threat, and that's mostly like offensively, right? Like if you're going on them, they can't do damage to you. So like if you only have half HP, it's not a huge deal. But like if you want to like make a play on the map at all, or just like kick the Spectre out of lane, like you just have to be at full resources. So you just need to go to base here, and it feels like kind of weird because like it's not good to go to base, right? And it's not like League where you just have a free return to base button, right? It costs TP, which you're not like, maybe you're just not sure like when it's okay to like leave your lane, right? And just TP home.
Right. That's one of the things I'm struggling with is like maybe if I was faster at shipping like regen, maybe I wouldn't be in this scenario to begin with. So like the thing you said earlier,
right?
Or like knowing when to not like over trade and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I tend to do is like sometimes I greed, whereas like I probably could have just walked back to base and TP'd, but maybe I'll like greed and ship regen too late, so it's just like double bad. Like I'm like losing gold to regen I probably didn't need to buy. That is one thing I'm like trying to think of more. But honestly, there's some scenarios where I just don't know yet.
Sure, and that's totally fine. You're gonna mess that up. Like some situations, like the correct play will be to like fly yourself out, regen right away, and not go back to base. In some situations, the correct answer will just be to go back to base. So to like help, like nothing I say right now is gonna make you like perfect at making these decisions, and that's okay. But like just to get you into like the right mindset, like so the earlier it is in the lane, the more important it is to like stay in the lane if possible. So like before, when like basically you were running away from here and like the creeps had met up here, like you were gonna miss a little bit of creeps, but like if you had flown yourself out that like salve I was talking about right away, you like kind of would have missed like one lane, not a huge deal, and then you would have been able to like keep laning. Versus this, and in that, so let me tell you why you wouldn't TP in that scenario. It's because it was so early in the lane that like if you like so like sometimes this happens where you die and then you TP back to lane and you die again, right? And that feels really bad because you have to like walk back to lane because your TP's on cooldown. So like it's kind of like that. Like if you just TP away here and then you like walk back to base, or sorry, and then you're at base and you like walk back to lane, like if you die again somehow, or if you die for the first time, because you hadn't, in this hypothetical example, let's say you hadn't died, if you like then die, then you're in like in a really crappy spot. So like having your TP on cooldown in that situation where it was so early into the lane and you only really needed a salve to like kind of, like I said, salve mango would have been ideal, like a little bit to like get you back to full. It would have been better there to just fly yourself out fast regen. Whereas here, so they've got like multiple heroes up here. Okay, this guy has no HP mana, but like by the time that any regen would get to you, like he's not going to be here anyways. It just takes like 15-20 seconds for regen to get to you, and it's later in the game, so it's like more okay to like you are stronger and therefore need more health and mana to like get to full. So like one salve and one mango doesn't really cut it anymore. You've got like a massive amount of HP because this guy W'd you, but even if you didn't, let it wear off. So like even now, like one salve gives you 400 HP. So even if you like perfectly like backpack all your strength items, a salve is still only going to get you like to 2/3, right? And then you still need like more mana, like you would need like 2 clarities. And it's just less bad at this phase because you're not as worried about dying to like go back to base and then TP out. So hopefully that kind of helps. But to me here, like just go back to base, and you're not going to miss a whole lot while you're gone. This is pretty important. It's like how much you're going to miss while you're gone if you do make this play to like TP home, right? Like if they've got like 7 creeps here and the siege creep's not here and these 7 creeps are about to walk under your tower and like all die and you're not going to be here because you're TPing home, that's really bad because you don't want to miss all those creeps. Here, these 3 creeps are just going to wail on the siege creep for like 15 seconds because they kill stage creeps really slow. So like you're actually, if you TP home immediately and then start walking back to base or start walking back to lane as soon as you're full, like what time is it? Like this creep wave will have like just gotten up here by the time that like you like walk back out to here. Like the net effect is like maybe you miss like 2, maybe 3 creeps if you TP. Maybe you miss all 3 of these or something like right if you TP like right now. But like 1 TP and getting full resources in exchange for like 3 creeps that right now you can't get anyways even if you stayed is like pretty worth it. So that's like the sort of thought process like I would have about like whether I'm TPing to base. Like I'm not missing anything if I TP to base right now. You see that?
Right.
Do you have any questions about that? It's pretty complicated. You're not gonna be good at it right away, but like those are the things that like I'm thinking about in terms of making this decision.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, like as an offlaner with like strong like offlaners like that I've seen so far, they're kind of like made around their ults being pretty strong. So like if I did base here, then there's like no way they can really contest me because I mean I have phase boots, just like phase boots ult. Then they probably just die. So
exactly, and it's like how important is it that you're full health and resources? Because if you're like, you know, like if you're in this exact same situation, but your ult is on cooldown, like you just use your ult, let's say, and it's like on cooldown for 90, it's like, okay, it's not that important that you're like at full resources like in the next like 20 seconds because it's like my ult's not gonna be ready anyways. Like I'm not really looking to fight them. Like, I don't have to be full resources, like, because I'm not looking to fight them because my ult's on cooldown. Whereas when your ulti is available on, like, these heroes with strong ultimates, which is, like, most offlaners, this applies a lot to mid heroes as well, because mid heroes are, like, always, like, kind of looking for skirmishes, right? Like, for most mid heroes and offlaners, if your ult's off cooldown, you want to be able to, like, use it effectively. And you can't do that without resources. So that is just another huge factor that's telling me that it's just totally worth it for you to like go to base right now just so that you can be at full resources and therefore use your like combo and like be a threat because like I said, you would have lost a couple creeps, but like you'd be back to base by now, like if you had TP'd home right away. And like if the Spectre's still here, and I promise you in your games at this level he will be like 90% of the time this guy will still be here, you literally just walk up and kill him. You just walk up, phase boots, run at him, drop arena, you know, use both your spells, and as long as you don't miss terribly, like, he just dies. And that would really only be possible if you, like, kind of had walked to base. So, let's keep watching. The CM just ults when you die. That's funny.
Yeah, so after this happened, I realized that, like, this was, like, one of those, like, hero mastery checkpoints where I should have speared to stop the channel.
Right, you can spear to stop the channel.
But I wasn't familiar enough with Mars at like right here. But as soon as I died, I was like, oh, why didn't I spear?
Yeah,
like I
that's okay.
Speared. And
that's
and I
just
think
being new.
Yeah, I think I do it like hopefully like later in this game. I think I die to another one of her ults, like when I like use all my abilities and she just like hits me with ult from fog or like comes out of the trees or something. I just die for it because I just disrespect.
Yeah, that's okay. Alright, so here, so this OD kill that you got is really good. Like, this guy is just kind of out of position. Also, he completely messed up his combo. Not much to say. You punished a bad mistake. But here, right here, this I don't like. I want you to care more about these creeps than about, like, getting kills on this guy.
Right.
So, like, this guy is already not having a great lane in terms of, like, he's not CSing well. And if you're sitting here hitting these creeps, like, he just can't walk up to you and, like, hit creeps. And, like, that needs to be, like, your main, like, frame for, like, being okay with what's happening in the lane. So if this guy's not hitting creeps, like, you just need to be, like, okay with that, and you don't need to feel, like, I don't want you to feel like you need to, like, chase this guy. Like, I actually don't care if you run this guy down and kill him, because he literally wasn't hitting creeps anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, even if you kill this guy here, like, you guys don't, because, like, you and Omni, because you don't have your ults, right? You're not that strong, actually. But even if this guy died here, you're missing creeps that you would otherwise have been getting. And he was not missing any creeps that he would have otherwise been getting, because he wasn't going to get these creeps anyways. So, like, it's just never going to be worth it.
And in full combo here, he doesn't even die anyway. I'm wasting mana and
exactly.
losing.
Even if you had your ult, he doesn't die. And I just want to, like, point out that, like, wait, did you got 518 gold for killing that OD? Oh my goodness. Well, let's look at this other kill, because this is more normal at this phase in the game. This Jug killed this troll, and it gave him 256 gold. And if you kill the Spectre, it'd be about the same. 250-ish, plus or minus, like, 30. That's like a creep wave, kind of. So, like, a creep wave is about worth a hero kill anyways. So, like, in terms of value for you, like, free uncontested creeps is kind of the same as killing this guy. And if you don't focus on killing this guy and you just kill these creeps, what you can then do is then, like, then you can chase him. Like, you can just do it after, like, if he's still hanging around. Like, I'm not saying never chase him, I'm just saying don't chase him in terms of, like, favor killing the creeps instead of chasing him. So, like, if you kill the creeps first and then he's still around, like, you can do this anyways. Or B, you kill these creeps and then you can, like, walk over to, like, a camp and, like, use your soul ring and then, like, farm this camp with, like, a spear rebuke, and then you've gotten extra gold out of this. And remember, like, this guy in the meantime is, like, not farming at all, so you're just, like, increasing your lead against this guy by not interacting with him. So I just want you to, like, think of it that way, because these interactions happen all the time at, like, in low level games. It's just what you're doing right here is so common, and it's just so unnecessary.
Right. Yeah, because the creeps are guaranteed XP and gold.
Exactly. And if you're playing the lane well, like you were earlier, like your CSing is pretty good, like you'll get a little bit more comfortable with, like, using your spells to harass. Like, if you're doing all that effectively, like, I mean, you're already, like, second CS in the game. Like, you know, like, if you're just doing this consistently instead of, like, spending time, like, you know, going to base, or, like, spending time, like, hanging around with low resources like we talked about. Like, if you're doing the resources thing right, and you're just, like, playing on the creep wave, getting all the last hits into denies, like, you'll be even stronger than you already are, and which is, like, the strongest hero in the game, besides maybe OD. And that's what I meant by, like, these early lanes will really snowball in your favor if you're, like, really on top of these, like, regen and, like, lane concepts, because you'll just get so much more items than them. Because, like, the Spectre's not strong. Like, he's got Tread's Wraithband. Like, you've got Phase, Magic Wand, 2 Bracer, Soul Ring, and 1,000 gold. You know, you're...
Right.
600, 700 gold ahead of this guy, which is, like, a lot of creeps. So that's how you'll, like, have more impact on these games, like, earlier, is, like, by playing these, like, first, like, 15 minutes more effectively, and then, like, once you start really getting your, like, items, you become, like, a huge threat. This guy's getting you again. It's really funny. Let me go back real quick. I'm, like, entertained by this CM, but that's not gonna, like, help you learn anything, so...
Yeah, this is where I waste, and then she comes out. I thought I was dead here.
I think what you did is fine, because you cleared the creeps, and then they just kind of, like, went on you. So, like, I don't think you did anything wrong here. And now you're running away. Okay, so they did connect on you. They're kind of, like, focusing a lot of resources on your lane. This, from what I've seen, kind of happens a lot at your, like, MMR. So, like, it's kind of okay that this is happening. There's not a whole lot you can do to prevent it. But if you're, like, doing those things we talked about earlier, like, better, like, you'll be stronger, and then, like, and then you'll be able to, like, better handle, like, this, like, kind of stuff.
Right. This was a creep TP by me too.
Yeah,
thought
this
I could
is
maybe
not
save
a
the
good
support.
TP.
yeah, 4 top. I should have canceled it.
Yeah. What I think you should do is I think you should walk up here, like, because like after their enemy heroes like finish whatever they're doing here, they're either A, gonna be trying to take your tower, or B, like they're gonna spread out and disperse. And so like by the time you walked here, one of those two things would like be happening. And there's like nothing else really for you to do. Like Alk's free farming mid. Your Jug, if you wanted to, could be free farming this lane. Like I would never TP to his lane. You know, there's no reason for you to be down here. So I think like
Right.
like you wanting to be top is reasonable. But yeah, just recognizing there's like a lot of heroes in this lane makes it like not a great place to like be immediately, right? Like it's a place you might want to be in like 15 seconds, so like that's perfect because you can just walk there. And then you save your TP in case you want to use it somewhere else. The second thing I'll say about that is like you said you wanted to save your support, and I will just say like at your level, like if you play
Right.
core, do not put yourself out of position at all to save your supports, like ever. Like if you're new to the game and you make a play thinking you can help this guy and you're gonna be fine, and then like it doesn't work out and you're like, oh, like I thought I could just easily save him there, but like it turns out I couldn't. Like that's fine because you'll like learn from that, right? But like if you already think like based on what you know, like, oh, like I'll try and save this guy, but it's probably not gonna go that well. Like I want you to just not do it.
Right.
Feel me? Your supports are just not gonna be worth saving, almost ever. So you still like almost kill this OD, but they've just got 4 heroes here, so there's not a whole lot else you can do. Like, it's honestly not even that bad. That's funny when he dies there. It's honestly not even that bad they're doing this. Like what I've said to like some of my other like students who are like in this situation where like they're the offlaner and there's like 4 heroes in their lane, is like your team is getting way more out of the map like during this than like they are, because they're like grouped up with 3 cores or 2 I don't know, 3 cores, but they've got a 4th core that's troll, like support / not actually supporting. When they have 4 heroes in one lane, they're not really farming a lot. So like if you had not died here, like they would have been 4 heroes up here just like splitting one lane of creeps and like maybe getting the tower, versus like you have 2 cores that are like free farming. So like recognize that when they're doing this, like showing up with a bunch of heroes in this top lane, like before like your tower, you had even gotten this tower, like recognize they're gonna do that sometimes, and then just be okay with like not being there and like retreating to like go like farm a jungle camp or something, as opposed to like feeling you need to like fight them, you know?
Right. Okay.
So you can just like recognize that as like an inefficiency on their part, then you can like be okay with it, even though it kind of seems like you should maybe be like doing something. So here I really don't like that you walked bottom. Sorry, did you want to say something about what I just said before we talk about this?
Oh, I was just gonna mention it's funny because like if I was in League, I would never have like teleported to save a support like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that, but
Mm-hmm.
then when I was in this game, I guess I don't know, so many things I'm trying to get used to. Like I know it's wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
like I TP'd there anyway, even though me as a decently high rated player in League, like I know that's bad. Like
Right.
so.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's
That,
probably just like you're just trying to think about too many things that like, you know, it's just like one of those things your brain like, it's just like a reaction versus like a thought out like decision.
right.
Okay, so like here on this respawn, so it's pretty important like in terms of coaching to like talk about where you go on respawn, because it like kind of tells me like what, like I can tell you like what you should be doing, or I can see like what you were like thinking. So here, I think it would have been really good for you to just walk top again.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you want to like pressure this tower, like in terms of order of objectives, like that's your main goal. And like, yes, sometimes they will like bring 3 or 4 heroes up here to defend it because they're like kind of just playing suboptimally. But like, you want to like force them to do that basically. So you want to like keep going to this lane, because either A, eventually they won't do it and you'll like pressure and take the tower, or B, like if you go up here again and then they bring 4 heroes here again, like we talked about, you can just kind of walk away, and then that's like they're like not playing the map very well as a result of that. and it doesn't cost you anything other than like having walked up here, you know. And
Right. Okay.
B, like,
I think I told Jug over the comms to go to triangle and to farm the top wave since it was pushing. I think that's why I came down here to try and push this lane out, because in most of the replays I watch, like, or when I play one, I try and go to triangle decently early because there's so much gold if I can, and then if the offlaner will give me that lane, if I can free farm it anyway, then I'll try and go to like triangle in that lane. I think that's maybe my reasoning here, but it's probably bad.
that's sort of reasonable. Typically, when you see this like sort of lane swap idea happening, it's like after these tier 1 towers have already fallen, because like that's what makes this area safer to farm for the carry, is like that there's no tower here. Like
okay, so take the tower first.
yeah, so like the order of objectives where like you want to get this tower first, like part of why you do that is it like opens up these camps in like this area of the map, which is like there's always like a lane here, it's close to the triangle, and there's these camps, and then like if there's no tower here, your carry or the carry can like kind of safely play this area, kind of like we were talking about, right? It's like not bad for him to be playing up here. But if this tower's still here, like if this Jug farms this triangle or whatever and like pushes this wave up, like he can only push it up so far, and then he can run into the same problem that you did of like 4 heroes might show up, and like and then the Jug doesn't want to be there anymore, right? So that's like in terms of like that sort of thought process of like swapping lanes, quote unquote, with your carry. That's like kind of more when that would.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That was one of the things I was unsure of. Like, do I keep going up there, even though I guess I felt like, oh, I don't need to be like denying like the triangle side of the map for my carry, but I wasn't. I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't sure if like, do I stay up here and take this turret first, or do I just go ahead and leave and tell him to go up there?
Yeah, well, and so here's the other thing that I'll say is like, you know, you said you told your Jug to like go do that, which is fine to like try and communicate with your teammates, like, but a lot of times they will not do what you suggest, right? So like you walk down here, and the concept here I want to talk about is like spreading out on cores, basically. Like multiple cores farming the same area of the map is usually really inefficient. So like what happens here is like you're walking bottom, your Jug is still down here, like if you were just looking at the mini map right now, your Jug is still down here, and your Alk is like moving into your guys' like jungle. So you now have all 3 of your team's cores are like farming in the same tiny area of the map. Nobody's farming this creep camp up here, right? Like, yes, you suggested to Jug that he go do this, but like a lot of times he won't, right? So like I want you to see like here when you respawned, like if you just look at the map right now, in terms of distributing cores and like farming efficiently, like your supports, you do not need to like give this farm to your supports. Not like give, right? But like you as the, you know, one core who's not in the lane already should be looking to like farm this lane for yourself, right? To like increase your net worth. Because what ends up happening here is like you run bottom, Jug's bottom, Alk goes into the jungle. So you're just all really close together. There's just like not enough camps for all you guys, and like this makes it really awkward for your supports too. Like, what are your supports just supposed to sit here and farm this lane? The answer is yes, if the cores are playing bad and not pushing it out, which is what's happening here, right? One of these supports should be sitting here because you didn't go there. But like, you know, your supports are at your level and they're going to be bad early on, and like they're going to like go do something else. And, you know, if you were up here, they could play around you, and maybe they wouldn't be feeding here, you know? But, like, they really didn't know... I'm sure these guys just didn't really know what to do. They're like, all 3 of our cores are bottom. Like, I guess we'll, like, walk and try and kill... Even though Omni doesn't really kill people. They're like, I guess we'll just try and, like, walk at mid and, like, fight somebody there. So, like, by being top, this whole engagement happening mid might not have even happened. So, hopefully you can kind of see that. It just makes the map look really weird for your team that there's no core like pushing this in. Nobody's causing a reaction for their team top, so like their team doesn't have to be top, right? So they can be wherever they want. They can be killing your supports mid. They can be invading your jungle if they want and like screwing with your other cores. And like that's something you can help alleviate by like being top and applying pressure there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the three of you team up to kill this troll, but like, you know, you guys didn't really get a whole lot out of that, and it was just pretty inefficient map-wise. What was the net worth? Somehow during all of this, they went from a 2k net worth lead to a 1k net worth lead, which I don't understand, because they should be like farming on Spectre and CK at the same time, while you guys were farming really efficiently, but...
And I think this is where
it's just because you guys have
back up.
So yeah, you eventually end back up here, because you probably were like, I don't want to farm next to my Jug and my Alk. And you walk back over here. So this is now, I think this is where you're supposed to be. And it's important, like if you recognize in a game, like that you play, if you're like, oh, like based on what we talked about in the coaching session, like I don't think I should be here. Just whenever that happens, just go immediately to where you think you should be. So like you're not going to do everything perfect right away, right? Like you're not going to walk out of base the right direction every time. But like if you walked out of base towards bottom and you got to like here and then you're like, wait, what am I doing? Like it's okay to then like just change directions, right? And go top. Like don't sunk cost like these like decisions on like where you need to be. It's like if you realize for whatever reason that you need to be somewhere or doing something and you're not doing it, like going to do it as soon as possible is like the best thing you can do, even if it's like just less efficient than it otherwise would have been. So hopefully that makes sense.
Right, okay.
Okay, you showed up to this fight with your TP, that was really good. The CM's got it out for you. Okay, so yeah, I see what you're saying about the Tumblr's showing the dragon scale. Like if it was me, I would take the dragon scale because I feel pretty comfortable managing my mana and like flying out clarities. I don't blame you for doing this, but just in general, like, you know, the dragon scale is a little more optimal. Yeah, I mean, in this situation, you've got like decent mana relative to your health, right? Like this item will give you more health regen. Your clarity can top you off on mana. So like,
and then I could just spam Soul Ring on cooldown.
Exactly, and it helps you spam Soul Ring more by having this more HP regen.
Okay.
So yeah, the dragon scale is actually a really good item for Mars. I totally get what you were going for. I don't hate that you like did it.
That's one of the things I wrote down after, because that's something I wanted to ask you about. Because he just felt so mana hungry. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, he really is. Okay, so this was good. You were pressuring top, and then you walked away. You're using your salves. Try and just get in the habit of like backpacking the items. Like I just do it like I just do it like one, and then you can like swap the one in the backpack out with the other ones that are still there, and then like move the last one in your backpack back into the inventory. And it just puts it on like a 6-second cooldown, and the salve takes like 13 seconds or something. So you're not gonna get like, it's not gonna be perfectly efficient, right? But like it's really quick to do it that way, and it squeezes a little bit more efficiency out of it, and then you're still like, hopefully your items are ready to go with like whatever you need to do next. But if you get in that habit, you'll just get a little more stuff out of your, health out of your salves, I guess. So I like that you cleared mid there. I don't mind that you're walking towards this fight. This is like pretty reasonable. You like push up the lanes. I think this is all pretty good. I don't even care how this fight goes. Like even if you guys lost that fight, I still think what you're doing is like, you know, approximately correct. So, miss a spear. I do that all the time as Mars. I'm like a level 15 Mars, and I like miss my spells like all the time. It's one of the reasons I actually don't like to play the hero, because I just miss all my spells. That's really bad. So let's talk about this chase here. So you guys like kill this OD. So at this point, I mean, recognize this troll's like kind of building core, but he's like a support. Like I don't know if you like had this sense in the game, but like this guy's pretty low net worth. He's not that important right now. So like after this OD dies and like you don't immediately have any way to catch this guy, like none of your guys' abilities like catch this guy. You agree?
Yes.
Like unless you right now land like a sick blink spear, it's really hard to catch this guy. So like it's that's why I said like I would just not have chased after the OD, because like I'm seeing from your team like you guys just don't have a good way to catch this troll. Like, you just don't.
Right.
It's basically incumbent on you landing like a sick blink spear, and it's just really hard to do.
I should have just went for mid turret instead. You
So
think?
yeah, just going back to the lanes, like if you just booked it mid, pushed this in, and like hit mid, well, that would have been like super great. Because then you can like hit mid, and then you can like walk top, because the Spectre like is top, which is like what he's doing is pretty good right now. Pushing out this lane that nobody's at. So like if you like walk this way, push it out, maybe you get this mid tower, and then like walk to where the Spectre is like he'll have pushed it in like here, and you like walk over here if another core on your team hadn't shown up, and then you push out top,
Right.
and you start like the rinse and repeat over again. And this is tough because it's incumbent on you recognizing that like your heroes do not like kill this guy. Like you just don't have the disables in the catch, and he's kind of fast. So I don't mind that you went for this. I just hope that you see in the future, like in this specific scenario, you guys just didn't have a good catch for this guy, and it's just something you'll learn as you like play more. Like, oh, can like we realistically kill this last guy that we're chasing or not, right? And like when it's a good idea to like just give up on the chase, because like it's okay, you're chasing here, right? You're like going for a play, you miss the spear, like it happens, it's totally okay. At this point, again, the decision should be considered, like, do we really keep trying to kill this guy? And I would say again, it should be no. Like
Right.
if you want to
back off.
exactly, like if you wanted to chase until that point to try and get this last spear on this guy, like cool, you went for it, didn't work. Here just immediately, like, because now you're just straight up like losing out on farming the map, right? You're just chasing this guy, and like I said before, even if you kill this guy, he's gonna be worth like 300 gold maybe. Like imagine if instead of chasing this guy, you would just like kill all these camps and like creeps, got the tower, and like we're killing more creeps, right? You just have so much more money. Like even if you kill this guy, it's not worth it gold wise. So I just want you to like make those considerations. Like, is it really worth chasing this guy? Because you like get him, and it's like, who cares, you know? Like I don't even care. Like their whole team's like starting to respawn now. When they're respawning, like if you've chased this far, like yeah, they're gonna want to fight you. Like all your spells are still on cooldown from the last time, right? And they're all at full resources respawning.
Right, and we're at a tier 2 and all the tier 1s are still up.
Exactly. So like yeah, now you're in this awkward spot here. Like I don't care if you kill the CM. I guess their Spectre showed up and died, which is like good, but like a good like once you like start playing as better players, right? Like their carries aren't gonna make that mistake. Like this ends up being like super worth because you like killed their carry again. But like a good carry would not have shown up to that, right? This Spectre, if he was good, he would have pushed his lane all the way in, and then he just would have farmed all these camps, and then he like would have let the camps respawn and then walked all the way back the other way, you know? Like he just would have finished his radiance while you guys were doing this. So I don't want you to like see that this like ended up sort of working out as like a
oh, this is a good play, because
right, exactly.
This was
exactly. We're on the same page right now, so that's good.
Right, because my whole goal is to like climb, so like better players that would have never even happened to begin with.
Exactly. You just have to that's why it's helpful to have a coach, I think, because like I can tell you why that's a bad play, even though it looked like it worked. So hopefully you
right. And like you said, it's like we're chasing down essentially a support all the way behind a tier 2 when tier 1s are up, and we have 3 waves pushing. Like there's so much more gold everywhere else. Makes sense.
Okay, so this TP, I really like that you were walking top, and I'm really sad that you TP'd here. Like I kind of get what you were going for, right? Like your team's still fighting over here, but this is a decision that you will have to make a lot, especially at lower levels. Is like your team is taking some fight over here, and like this is like kind of far away. This is like in their triangle. Like before, you TP'd to that fight, and it was happening like right around your outpost. So TPing to that outpost made a lot of sense because you were like immediately at the fight and could have a huge impact, right?
Right.
And it like seemed like a good fight for you to take. Like almost all the time, like I would say like 100% of the time, honestly, for you. Like if you're, I don't even care that you're making this TP from base. Like if you were up here or like, you know, like if you were already up here farming, I still wouldn't like this TP because like this is just not an area, like the triangle is just not an area where you want to be fighting them. So that's like partially why chasing this guy was so bad, because you like ended up in their triangle and were like fighting them in their triangle. But like you coming to this is like kind of you endorsing like your team's positioning on the map. You get what I'm saying? Like your team is not playing in the right part of the map. Like you guys need to be focusing on this top tier 1 and like ideally this mid tier 1. It's almost dead. But like this is where your team should be playing. And like getting this tower is super important still. Like even though it's 23 minutes and you haven't gotten it yet, it still matters that you eventually get this tower, because like that is what opens up these camps. Like that is what like makes it a little bit easier to take this tier 1 and then like play around Roshan later, is like that they wouldn't have this tower. Like in terms of like objectives and the game of Dota and how this game is gonna end, these towers matter, whether it's at minute 6 and there's a catapult hitting them, or whether it's at minute 23 and you haven't freaking taken them yet. So I want you to like still be oriented around this like order of objectives, even at this late in the game. Like this is why your games go late, is because people lose focus. Like if they don't get this tower early, they like it like becomes less important to them. Like once it's like 20 minutes, you're like, oh, everybody has a bunch of items now, so like now we're just playing Dota and fighting instead of worrying about like the order of objectives. And I want to tell you this like totally incorrect, and you should still only care about these order of objectives, because that's the only way that the game
it's the only way you win.
Yeah, it's the only way this game proceeds. The reason this game takes, the reason these games go on 40, 50 minutes is because people just ignore the objectives for long periods of time. Because eventually, who wins this game? You guys win this game? You guys win this game. Eventually, I'm sure you guys go take this tower. Like, it has to happen. Like, I'm sure by the time you win this game, this tower died, and this tower died, and you guys probably took Roche. Like, these things all happen before you win this game, and you're just delaying them by, like, ignoring these objectives. So I just hope you see that. Like, I want you to not play here ever. I want you to focus on this top tier 1. I want you to focus on mid. Make whatever plays you think you need to make to, like, make those things happen, if you want to like try and get your team to smoke, or like sometimes you take it because your team takes a dumb fight and you're like, oh sweet, I'll just take this tower by myself for free, right, while like their team is killing my team, because you don't want to be at like fights in these weird locations.
And I remember like I wanted to go top here, and then I seen them fighting again, and I probably just TP'd way too early without looking, because they're just, I don't know, it feels like people are always fighting in the lower. I forgot what the lower elos felt like in League, but they're just non-stop, just brawl fest.
Yeah.
People are just, they're not farming, they're just fighting 24/7. And
yeah, I definitely agree with that, and you that's totally spot on. They're always going to be fighting, and the key is to just recognize fights that you want to show up to and fights you don't want to show up to, like fights in their triangle. Like, I don't want you to feel like you need to show up to those. Typically, like, fights in this bottom jungle, like, I don't really want you to feel like you need to show up to those. Like, that one that you did show up to, I didn't mind because it was kind of, like, going pretty well for your team. Like, you shouldn't never show up. But, like you said, you were like, oh, I hadn't really looked before I TP'd. And, like, looking before you TP is super important. And, like, making that assessment of, like, do I want to show up to this or not?
Right.
But, like, I want you to, like, I want you to be like really critical about like, do I show up to that, like that's happening like down here, versus if a fight's happening like up here, or like once you guys take this tier 1, if a fight's happening in the top jungle, like I want you to be like pretty willing to like show up to that, because like this is the aggressive part of the map for you guys. It like sets up place for Roshan, like it's close to their towers, so if you win it you can push them, you know what I mean?
Right. And that's probably why my games have been going so long too, because like I know I should go take that turret, but then I start to go and I see him fighting again, and rather than just going and taking the free waves and getting that turret, I feel like, I just feel forced. But I know if this was in League, I know that like I need to farm, and like I know if I get like these 3 items, then I can just like carry the game.
Exactly.
And, like I'm just hurting myself here by like not farming enough, because my item spikes are slowing down, Spectre's like slowly catching up, and this was like, if this was a player like you or another high rated player, like you guys would just be free farming and slowly, like, didn't really matter the lead you lost in the beginning, because you'll just pass me. because
Yeah,
there's just
exactly.
so much time wasted.
Yeah, from
Okay,
your
makes sense.
previous MOBA experience, you exactly nailed that. So I'm glad you can see it, and because you see it and because you know it, you will get better, and you will start to do the right thing way faster than like other players of your bracket, and you will climb fast. Like I promise you that you're the fact that you can like say all this and recognize it means you're gonna climb super fast. Just like I'm sure your climbing league was pretty fast based on you being a really good Smite player too. But like, um,
Right.
I mean, I guess we knew
And
that
I'm
based on
not
your
climbing
experience. But
slowly. I mean, I've gone from 400. I think I was around like 420. I think.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I've gone from like there in 2 weeks to I hit like 930 a few days ago. Like I've been like up and
Nice,
down, like back and forth. So I'm not like climbing like super slow. I don't want to form like bad habits now and have to
exactly.
like recorrect them much later on. So I'd rather just go ahead and see like, hey, these are the things you're like doing wrong now, so I can go ahead and fix them at the very beginning.
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about one more thing, and then we should probably look at another replay. We've been on this one for a long time, although I think it's been good because you like covered a
We
lot.
we can just do this one replay. Um, we can just do this one.
Okay, that's fine. Um, then well, so okay, I want to talk about this anyways. So like here after this fight, this is another opportunity where I think you need to recognize you need to go to base. They're all really low, or sorry, they're all dead. They're all really dead, and you guys are all really low. So this is the opportunity where like yes, like sometimes it's like worth it to like get the objective before they've respawned, but like here, I mean it's like yes, you guys want to get in tower, but like somebody just has to sneeze at this tower and it's gonna die, right? Like you don't need like a concentrated effort. And what I want you to be ready for, it's like you have gold for your BKB, your cooldowns up in 30, and they're respawning in like 35, 40 seconds. So like what I need is for you to see, like take in this information right and be like, I need to be ready to fight them again in like 40 seconds, right? And like play for the next objective. Um, and like, yes, this Minotaur needs to die, but like going for it. So what happens? Like, best case scenario is you like go for this tower, walk at it, hit it 3 times, and it dies. And then let's say that takes you like 15 seconds, and then you like, ideally there you like TP to base, right? But like they're just gonna be like respawn and like starting to spread out on the map before you're like ready to like play Dota again. You know what I mean?
Right, and like you said, like this is one thing you mentioned earlier when I was like level 7, is like here my ult's up in 30. Their respawn timers are like almost in sync with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I
Mm-hmm.
just reset and we take another fight and we win that one, maybe we can get tier 2 off of it, and rather than like this turret that was going to die to minions probably anyway, like you said.
Right. Yeah, because now you're walking around the map. You're sending out your courier with. Okay, so you flew yourself regen, so that's good. That's fine that you like what you just did. Like it's just like in that specific situation, I guess, with them all dead. Like
There was a better play. The one that you were talking about was
yeah,
just a
like just
better
TPing
play.
back to base there would have just been like simple, and like your TP probably like if you like TP back to base there and then like walk top, like by the time you like get here, your TP's probably got like 20 seconds left maybe. So you're like gonna be pretty ready to like do anything else that like your team needs you to do. And like you do have these clarities, but it's actually with these clarities, it's actually just gonna take you a super long time before you're like ready to actually fight. Use your clarity. You're not even using your clarity, which is gonna make it even harder. So yeah, now you're like walking towards this fight, but you have no mana. Okay, you finally started using clarity. That's good. But you're using mana to farm again, which you want to be able to do, and if you had had full mana, that wouldn't have been an issue. So like you're TPing to a fight with 0 mana. This
And
is
I
bad.
didn't use Soul Ring again, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like
and
I have
so
no
like
mana.
don't be afraid of going to base, especially like I don't want you to tell you to always go to base because like always going to base is bad. But like I'm just pointing out these opportunities where going to base would have been good, and like especially as you're like a newer player and like still figuring out the mana management, like it'll just make your life simpler. Just be like, oh, like I just have the resources to fight them versus like trying to like manage these clarities and backpacking and soul ringing, you know? Like, yes, you need to like learn how to do those things to like get good at the game, like really good, and like you will as you play more. But you know, don't be too afraid of going back to base a little bit. You know, and if we have another session in the future, and like I watch and like I think you're going to base too much, like I'll tell you. But right now, you're just not going to base enough.
Okay.
Yeah, this fight ended up sort of going okay. Like, I don't think it ended up going too... Like, you got your full combo off, so... Didn't hurt you too bad, but it's just, like... It's just suboptimal, you know? Because, like, it's like if you had full mana at the start of that fight, and then... Maybe you, like, get away, like, halfway through the fight, you know? And then it's like you have mana to, like, keep farming somewhere else, right?
Right, okay.
So let's see where you go... Here. I still don't have that top tier 1 yet. Because, like, what I'm thinking on, like, you know, we're getting, like, into, like, the mid... We're in the mid game. We're, like, approaching, like, early, late game, sort of. Or, like, we're getting well into the mid game. So, like, Roshan becomes, like, the primary objective. So, like, I want to see, like, how you go about, like, playing in this phase where, like, Roshan's primary objective. Okay, so you just get a pretty good initiation. Your Alp's not here, though. So... I covered this in one of my recent YouTube videos, actually, but, like, I think it was the one where I was, like, playing Carry Juggernaut. But, like, it's really important in the mid-game, like, post, like, 25-ish minutes, that you, like, only fight them when you, like, have, like, 5 heroes, or that you know you're at a numbers advantage. So, this is, like, a little bit more of an advanced concept, but, like, your Alk is not here, and, like, we don't know where their team is. And
right, this is just a coin flip.
Pretty reasonable to like guess that they're like behind them, like right out of vision, you know. So like this fight, and your line is actually already dead. So you're taking a 3 on what is probably like close to 5 here. And so did you TP in here? What happened? How did this happen? So you respawned. So yeah, you TP'd up here. So. Like, you've got your full combo and you're strong, but the fact that your Lion's here dying, your Alk's not with your team, means, like, you're not actually looking to fight them. Like, as it gets into the mid-game here, it becomes more about, like, is your team ready to fight? More so than just, like, early game. It's like, am I ready to fight, right? Do I have my ultimate?
Right.
And, like, mana for my abilities and whatnot. Like, once we pass, like, I want to say, like, probably the 25-minute mark, it really becomes like, is my team ready? And like showing up to things where your whole team's not going to be there. Like your team is going to take bad fights all the time. Like at a low level, it's just going to happen. And like, you just have to like make sure you're doing the best you can. Like showing up to the fights that like seem reasonable to you. And like doing your best to not show up to the fights that don't seem reasonable. So like if I'm you here, I walk mid. Because I'm like, they've got multiple heroes top. My Alk's like farming bottom. My Lion's dead now. Like, we're just chilling until Lion's alive, and then we can make a play. Like, that's kind of like the DotA play the map mindset. Is like, you've got a hero dead, split up the map, and by, like, split the map, it's like walk down the lanes where the enemy isn't, push them out, and wait for your team to respawn. Is that, like, how it works in League? I don't actually know.
Yeah, it works the same way.
Okay.
Like, there's no reason for me to fight here. Like you said, support's dead. The Alchemist is spot. Like this is already a man disadvantaged fight.
Mm-hmm.
I should have never TP'd when I seen Alchemist all the way in bot.
Exactly.
And
like
Lion was already dead too.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah,
and sometimes what will happen here is like you'll do this and then your Alk will like TP to help you guys, which is even worse, right? Like sometimes your teammates like compound on these sort of mistakes. Or like sometimes you'll be that Alk, right? And you'll be the Alk, and your team will, like, do this. Your Lion will be dead, and they'll do exactly what you did here. And as the Alk, you're like, oh, brother, like, do I need to show up to this, right? Like, you're like, I don't want to show up to this. Do I need to show up to this? And it just puts your teammates in a hard spot. And, like, I'm not saying this to, like, flame you or anything. Just, like,
I know, it's fine.
These plays have, like, really big impact. And it's the concept that I want you to, like, learn is that, like, post 25 minutes, you need to, like, only take fights where you think you have the numbers advantage, or like, or that it's equal, like 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 or something, like based on all the information you have, because that is the single most important aspect of like who wins a team fight, like post 25 minutes, is just like numbers, you know. And it's
Right.
like, it sounds kind of obvious, but like so many people at lower levels, like they don't consider the numbers, right? And like what'll happen is like, you know, sometimes you'll be that elk and your team will do what you did and then they'll flame you, right? Be like, Alk, why weren't you there? But it's like, you know, you guys were already down the lion and it was like a dumb
Right.
engage, right? But like, so like these bad fights will happen all the time, and it's important that you can like see them for what they are and make that analysis, because your team will flame you for doing the right thing and not showing up. And like, I want you to have the confidence to know that like they're wrong, even if like all 3 or 4 of them on your team decide to flame you. Like, I need you to be confident in like your decisions so that you don't like get baited by
Right.
your
Like,
team. Because I see on Reddit all the time, people are like, oh, like I show up to this fight, I show up to these fights because my team like flames me if I don't. And it's like, you
I
need to
mean,
like
low
mute
level
your
players are gonna
teammates,
flame
right?
you for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And like
So
you said, for their like when they were in their ancient, like you said, all it does by like me TPing here is just it just encourages it even more, because like I'm also TPing here, I'm blinking, ulting in, like I'm just in, like it's already bad that they're getting caught out, but then like I'm encouraging it, and I know I shouldn't be doing it, but like I am TPing here, and like this is just bad.
cool.
So
All
yeah,
right.
I'll definitely try and work on it. And
Okay.
that was another thing about mentioning like the Reddit thing. I knew I wanted to make a post to ask for some help, but at least I know how it is in League. Reddit is a very dangerous tool to ask for help on, because sure, like a goldish level player can beat like a bronze level player, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, that gold player is still very, very, very bad at the game, and like even though what he tells you like might work, it's like you were talking about earlier, like what I did wasn't necessarily bad, but it's like it's not the right. It's not like this like you said, like 7K, where you said you would just base, and like I just like stay out longer, like because you were like, oh, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's not the like most correct option, or like the thing you should be doing.
Right.
And because like the league subreddits are very dangerous of having like uh even a low diamond player can give very, very bad advice. Like, I know that sounds like, I mean, you probably know that, like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know what
I a
the line
thousand
is,
percent agree with you, my friend.
like,
we
because one of the guys commented on my Luna build by me going like the farming route, with my points or whatever, and it did cost me a kill in that replay, but like you said, like farm is like more important than kills most of the time. You're not like gonna turbo chase for a kill when the wave was almost equal to a kill.
Right, exactly. I 100% agree with you. Like, posting on Reddit for
So
advice is like the advice you get, you just don't know who it's coming from, you know? Or like,
like
and yeah, if you're a newer player, it's just like you don't know what
like
advice is good or not. I 100% agree with you.
like grain of salt. That's why I was trying to like think for myself on a lot of the responses, but then like I see you with like the 7K tag, I'm like, okay, well this guy actually like, you know, he probably knows what he's talking about, versus like these unverified players who, I mean, one of them like sent me a private message, said, "Oh, I'm 3K. We can review your games if you want." And like sure, it's like free, but like I know in my mind, like if this was like League and it was like a gold player asking, or like telling like a bronze player for help, I know that like it would probably do more harm than good,
right,
because
right.
it like reinforces like the bad habits, because they're like, oh yeah, that was good, but they don't even know, because they're not high enough rated. They don't understand like it was probably bad, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's why I wanted to go ahead and talk to you, so I could talk to a good high rated player. Like, you can go ahead and tell me what like I'm like bad at and need to work on. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. 100% agree with you. Sometimes, you know, not everybody can, you know, wants to pay for coaching or something. But like, if you really want to get better, like, I think the best way to do it is like have a good player like coach you. Like having a
100%.
having a not good player coach you just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I want to see where this fight went badly because I think you were fine joining the fight how you did. Like it was your line kind of died first, but like your team was close enough, and like their team wasn't. It wasn't like a 5-man gank on line that you guys then ran into. So like I kind of liked how this engagement started. Just kind of wanted to see like what went wrong here. Your CM's not even here. So you're chasing this OD by yourself. I think I'm not 1,000% sure that this fight goes differently if you don't do this, but like I think you don't want to like chase this target. And I usually don't talk a lot about like team fight execution because like some of you like pick up. Or just to like give you a little advice here, I don't think that like this is just a recognition of like what your hero does to his hero, because like your hero just doesn't kill his hero like at these resources with like not having your ult up. So this is like kind of a waste of time, and like maybe just based on like your knowledge of the game, like you weren't sure if this would be like worth your time or not. But like I think it would have been more effective if you're like back here like spearing like this troll when his BKB runs out, or like zoning the Spectre OD but like staying closer to the fight. I mean, I guess you're kind of zoning this OD, but he kind of just solos you instead of the other way around.
Yeah, I didn't know how strong I was there or how strong like he was.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, I guess you learned from that engagement like how that goes, but yeah, that's why I usually don't comment honestly, because usually you kind of learn from team fights like based on how something went if it was like a good thing to do or not. So don't worry too much about it. But yeah, I think that fight started okay. I don't think it's bad that you like fought them there, I'll say that, even though it didn't go well. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, I went back and watched the replay and I was like, yeah, I chased like way too hard here. In my mind, since it was like 3 versus just troll, even though I didn't recognize like Spectre was above, I thought they would win it, but like that's just me not having good enough awareness right now to notice that like Spectre was like right above them as I like chased up. You know, I should have just stopped.
Yeah, those things, those it's really hard to like learn that. It's just gonna take you a lot of playing and like, you know, being able to like look at your mini map while like a fight is happening is like pretty hard.
Right.
So this Roche fight goes pretty well for you guys. I think it's good that you're contesting. You've got your whole team like coming. Lions like bring up the back, but oops, I think this is pretty good, especially because CK's like not here. The fact that they're rushing, so this is them making a mistake, right? They're trying to take an objective without their full team as 5 there. Yeah, you go up here and break this up. Meanwhile, your team like kills the CM. This Aegis is on the ground forever. I can't believe this.
I try and move my item out of my inventory.
Oh yeah,
The whole time in the game, I'm like over the voice chat, I'm saying, "Jug, pick up Aegis. Jug, pick up Aegis."
Yeah.
And so like he doesn't start to do it, so I just try and move my thing to grab it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, luckily he ends up picking it up because his troll didn't get it either. I guess troll ulted, so you can like control 0, but
yeah, I said it like 20 times. Like, I'm just like saying it on repeat, like Jug grab Aegis, like.
Yeah. But your contribution to the fight was still really good, even though you died. You didn't get your BKB off, but honestly, troll's all right click damage, so I don't think it mattered at all that you didn't get your BKB off. So I think you executed that pretty well. You like went in and started the fight. You weren't afraid to just like jump straight in because you like CK wasn't there. So I think that was like really good like execution, and like, you know, that you were like at the Roche fight to begin with. You know, kind of seems obvious, I guess, but sometimes people don't even go to the right place to start with. So I'll call it out.
I can't remember if I swept it or if I seen him on a ward, but I knew if like I didn't run there that my team probably would have just let them take it.
Right, and that's really important, is like if you think they're doing Roche, or like sometimes it's just like getting your own team to take Roche, right? It's like, guys, we need to take Roche, and you don't think they're going to listen to you. It's really important to just like kind of lead the charge in that way, because sometimes just talking to them or asking them just doesn't work. So I think it was really good that you did like start it, because once you start the fight, then like yeah, like your team will like show up. Like sometimes I'll tell people like this can be important if you're trying to take Roche as your team, like and their team's like not able to contest or you think you're really strong or whatever. Like I've told people in my coaching sessions, like if they want to take Roche, to literally just walk into the Roche pit and start hitting it while pinging it, so that people see that you're hitting it. Because like the act of like seeing you hit it will like make them be like, oh, this guy really wants to take Roshan, right? Versus like if you're just like farming in the area but and pinging Roshan, like they're like, whatever, right? Like I'm just gonna keep doing whatever I'm doing. But if you're like hitting the Roshan alone and pinging it, they're like, oh, maybe we should go hit it with him, right? So
and then another thing I wanted to ask you, so when I got to this point after I finished BKB, I knew that Halberd would be good, but in BSJ's guide, I didn't hear him mention like Halberd on Mars, so I don't know. I'm too new, so like I looked at the stats and I didn't know, so I wanted to ask you like. I know Halberd like seems good in this game. They have so many right clickers, but I know that offlaners normally build like the items the team needs, but I did not know. Like I didn't know, but I knew that like I think I build like Desolator, the name of the item.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, you built
Okay.
Desolator.
I knew that like Desolator was the item that I've seen BSJ build a lot like next, and that's the item order like he mentions in his guide is like Desolator. That's the same one he goes in like his Smurf gameplays. So I just didn't want to flip it by building a super bad item. I'd rather like build one I knew was like decent. Rather than like build something as bad. So I just wanted to ask you, like, is Halberd okay to build on Mars, or would you have built it this game, or?
Halberd is okay to build on Mars. He's a reasonable Halberd carrier. This is a pretty good Halberd game. It's really good against Troll. It's quite good against OD, who like does a lot of damage with his right clicks. It's not that good against CK because he's like usually got a bunch of illusions. So like the evasion is okay, but like halberding one of like 4 illusions, because his illusions do full damage. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but his illusions literally do as much damage as his main hero. So like even if you halberded the real one, it wouldn't change the damage.
Yeah, he hits like a truck.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
And then like Spectre does right clicks. A lot of her damage comes from like the dispersion and like Manta illusions, so it's like okay against Spectre. It's not amazing. So I think Halberd would have been a reasonable item to get this game. In terms of like the best item in this situation, I don't really know if there is like an item you definitely need to buy. Like AC is pretty good because CK and Troll are like all right click physical damage. So like it negates their damage pretty well, and it negates a little of Spectre's damage and like almost none of OD's damage. So like I don't think that's why I'm saying there's not like one like perfect item, I don't think, in this scenario. Deso is like, I think it's kind of bad, not because it's a bad item, but like because Deso is really good when they have like squishy heroes that like you just need to like rip into with like your W right, and your W does like half their HP. Like CM, it would work. Like Deso is really good against heroes like CM, but against like heroes like OD with like 15 armor and 2500 HP, like CK with 4000 HP and 19 armor, like all their other heroes are really tanky with high armor. So that makes Deso pretty bad here. And like you're totally right, like it typically is like the next item, and like it's not terrible on Mars. Like use it really well. It's like good for farming. I'm just giving you my specific feedback on it in this game because you're asking.
Right.
But like as you can tell, there's a lot of things that like go into it that I don't expect you to like be able to perfectly analyze like mid game.
Right. And if maybe they'd have had like you said, like tanky teams, maybe that's just like a very greedy item for like or like, because I remember when I bought it, I was thinking, well, I pretty much am just going to use this to like kill Crystal Maiden, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. I'm pretty sure what I do for the rest of the game. I just blink on top of her and like almost like one shot her.
She does pretty much just die when you have a Deso. So yeah, you're correct. Basically, Deso is really good when they have like multiple heroes like that. Like just squishier.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like supports. Like sometimes if you're against like a puck mid or like a Luna carry is like not super tanky or something like that. And
Right. Okay.
also like the faster it comes out, the better it is. Like late desos, like a 35-minute deso is usually pretty not good. Versus like even against this same exact lineup that's not like a great deso game, like if you're getting this deso at like 25 minutes, like you're still gonna hit pretty hard, right? Just because they're
Right.
not gonna have as many items. So the later in the game it is, like the worse deso becomes, is just something for you to like incorporate into your knowledge. Uh, you know, right now I think it's good that you're like following guides. Like that's totally good for where you are. Eventually, if you're gonna become like
I'm
a Archon Ancient Divine player, you'll learn these things.
right. That's why I wanted to ask because I'm trying to think. I'm not good enough at items. Like I understand, you know, like I understand most of the like normal items, but I know that I mean it's so complex and building the right item in the right time or order can like make or break a game. And
Yeah, for sure.
and like you said, 35-minute deso is not good, but if I had such a like lead in the early, if I just didn't ignore all those waves and stuff, like I would probably still be higher net worth because my farm
Mm-hmm.
this game has just dropped off a cliff. Like I'm
Yes.
146 at 35. Like imagine if I was like closer to like 300, because
Right.
that's
Mm-hmm.
in BSJ's replay. He is like very very high farm numbers throughout the entire game, and I have high farm numbers when I play position one, and I think it's because I'm like consciously thinking like, hey, farming is my job,
Right.
and but when I'm in off lane, I've
It doesn't
just been
feel like your job.
forcing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been forcing like way too many fights
Mm-hmm.
when I should just be farming.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like I said, you'll pick up more of these things as it goes. And itemization is super hard in Dota. Like I 100% agree with you. I mean, like I don't buy the right items all the time. It's just hard. But if you can get a handle on it, good itemization goes a really long way in my opinion. Like itemizing correctly in games like makes them playable, and like there are games where if you it's like 100% winnable, and if you itemize wrong, like you said, like it becomes like impossible. You know, um,
Right,
like it doesn't matter how high if you can like farm a crazy lead if you like buy the wrong items, and like you could throw the game that way. Um, you seem to have a
right.
pretty good handle on it in general, so I don't think you're going to be one of those people. But it is really important, like you've said.
Yeah, I just didn't know what to build here next, so I thought about Vlad's, I thought about AC like you mentioned, and I was just like I have no idea, so I'll just follow what he said his order
Mm-hmm.
is. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because I know like I'm trying to get better at the items. It's hard because there's so many like situational and like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
two different 7K players might buy two different things, and like
You're exactly
but
right. Yeah.
but what's their reasoning like behind those two items? So like I'm trying to think of that stuff myself, but I'm still very new.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're trying to think of it, you'll improve a lot better than people who like kind of mindlessly pick an item. Um, yeah. AC Halberd is, like I said, was not bad. Halberd would be a consideration for me here. I'm like, do I need a Halberd against this team? Something else that could be good is Refresher. Although usually you have like one other. Usually you don't go Refresher like next item after BKB. But Refresher on Mars is pretty good. Assuming you're like competent using like the Soul Ring, 'cause you kind of have to use it twice during it, but you like get all your spells plus BKB like twice, so you can kind of like Arena W spear somebody while you're BKB, then you like Refresher Orb, Soul Ring, and then you like do it again, and they take like you know 2,000 damage while being permastunned for like 6 seconds. It's pretty nuts.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
I used it on Tide Hunt on one of my Tide Hunter games. I went refresher orb, but I went it much like later on. Like you said,
yeah,
it
it's
wasn't
usually you
OP.
can't get it early because usually like these strength heroes with big ults like to buy it and they just don't have the mana pool because it costs like freaking 375 mana to use or something. Plus, like your whole combo obviously costs a lot of mana. All right, let's go a little bit more. I mean, we're getting pretty close to the end of this game, so we'll see if there's anything else notable that happens since we're only doing it the one game anyways. And we can call it. Nice. All right, well that was pretty simple. You guys just took advantage of them being separated and out of position. Find it interesting you're walking bottom here. I kind of like what you're doing here, honestly. Like, you got 2 kills, and you're, like, looking to, like, pressure an objective and, like, split the map.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what it. I wasn't sure if we could just go high ground or if I should just stay with them and we should try and push top to get top tier. I really didn't know, like,
Sure.
here what to do. I just knew that the
It's...
lanes needed to be pushed.
Yeah. The lane... You've got the right idea. So, what I think is, like... Okay, you guys got these 2 kills. Your line's respawning in 10 seconds. So, like, they kind of have to be afraid of you right now. Because, like, if you run into anybody else on their team, they're probably going to die. Like, with... You guys are going to have a numbers advantage. So, if you don't... And the other thing I'm noting here is that you have very low information. Like, you actually do see the CK, but you don't see anybody else on their team. And like you said, your lanes aren't that good. In the later game, it's just more important to play, like, as Radiant. Like, when you're playing Radiant, to push top and mid. As you've probably heard BSJ say, like, push top and mid is Radiant and push bottom is mid on Dire.
Right.
Because the things I'm thinking about right now are, like, getting the lanes pushed in. Like, yes, maybe can we go high ground right now? But then B, like, when is Roshan respawning? So, like, to me, the optimal play here is for you guys, basically most of your team, you guys need to split up. Somebody on your team needs to go top and push it out. Somebody on your team needs to, like, push out this mid wave that's going to be right here, because then that's going to, like, keep walking down and give you guys vision, right? Like, if all your team smoked, like, if nobody, let's just watch. So, like, with these creeps moving here, it gives you guys no information of any, like, versus if somebody, like, just nuked this down right now and these creeps just kept walking, it would give you guys a lot of information. So, like, somebody needs to go top right away and somebody needs to push this lane out because you guys were all just right here. And then ideally you push this in all the way while they're dead. This gets pushed in and you take this top tier 2 and this outpost, like, while these 2 heroes are dead. You can do all of this. And if you find anybody else, because like somebody's here and somebody's here and the other 3 heroes should be, like, playing here in this general area, like, if you find anybody, you're all relatively close together and can connect together and, like, kill more people if they're there. That is what you should kind of want to do based on, like, this map configuration right now. Do you have any questions about that?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. So walking bottom here, I don't think, like, it makes sense in terms of, like, just the general, like, knowledge that you need your lanes to be pushed out. But in terms of, like, the lanes that matter, it just doesn't matter at this phase in the game.
Right.
With, like, what's
like
going on. Yeah, because
like you said, Roche is up, or soon
it's gonna be up soonish. Well, it's not gonna be up for like 4 minutes, right? But, like, you don't want to go high ground until you have Aegis, and to get the Roshan and get the Aegis, like, you want to have as much control of this area and the pit as possible. So it's just important to, like that's what you want to be setting up with all your actions. So, like, if you're like if you go bottom here, like, if I was a 7 game player and I was like, oh, I want to go bottom and push this out, my thought process would be, like, I'm gonna come down here and push 1 wave and then, like, look to reconnect with my team, like, immediately. It's like you can't wander away from your team, like, later in the game. without being able to like instantly like reconnect with them at like kind of a moment's notice, because like they find somebody here and you're not here, and there's nothing to TP to, because this is how the later game works, right? Outer towers are dead. Fight happens around Roche. You have no way to get here. And granted, Roche isn't up yet, but that's why I don't really like that you ended up walking bottom here, because like this fight should go well for your team, because you should be here, and then it should be a 3-on. Like your line was respawning, right? It should be a 3-on-4. So that's why I don't like you kind of like walked away from here. Like if you had walked top and started pushing it out, and then this happens, like you could just be there in like 5 seconds, right?
Right.
So hopefully that makes sense, and that's like kind of the things that you start to think about like at this phase in the game, right? Pushing out top and mid, playing in the same general areas like your whole team. Like maybe you have a hero with like boots of travel, like a puck or something that can go split this bottom wave down here, but otherwise like it's not good to like send somebody down here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then like getting this outpost is super important for controlling Roshan, because imagine like if they are respawning now, and like even if you hadn't found this troll, like this lane is pushed into here, this lane you guys pushed all the way up, you took their outpost because you're already taking their shoot, you took this outpost, and then you're like hitting this tower with like 5 heroes nearby, and like this lane is here, right? And like these heroes are like respawning. Like what are their options, right? Like they can come and fight you when you're all set up at their tower, or they can like kind of try and like play over here and like dodge you because you're like all together and strong. And like either way, like you're kind of maintaining, you're like fighting, you're either fighting them in a good spot, or you're like maintaining control of this area, which is like the important area to control at this phase in the game. Like if you can control this jungle area and keep mid and top pushed in, like while you're waiting for Roshan to respawn, that's like the dream. Like that's what you should want. This game like kind of goes on for another like 10 minutes, I guess. I think this might be a good place to end it, though. Did you have any other questions?
No, I think we pretty much, I mean, we covered a lot.
Yeah, this was a lot.
Yeah, do you think really like, do you think Mars is okay to like pick earlier in the draft? Because I'm finding like nobody likes to lock in, and I'm losing so much gold sometimes, so I just lock. So I was trying to look and see like what offlaners had like pretty like even matchups or so. I know like drafting's very complex in its own right. And Mars being so like mana hungry, I think he's okay. I don't know. I was looking at like Timbersaw because he seems like pretty decent, or somebody like Sand King. I watched like, I know one of your videos you were playing Sand King, and I've played a couple games of him.
Yeah, Mars is a totally fine hero to like first phase. He's not particularly strong in the meta right now because they just like nerfed him pretty heavily, but in terms of like the level of your games, I 100% does not matter. Mars is a perfectly fine hero for you to play and for you to practice to get better, and like if you first phase it, it'll be fine because like he has a, like you said, most of his lane matchups are not too bad. So like you should feel fine picking him. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't really matter what you end up picking. Like I don't even care if you're first phasing it, because like your goal should be to like conceptually like start to like understand like these heroes, like whichever ones you decide to pick, and just play them a lot of times so you start to understand them, and then you can also start to like focus less on the hero itself and more on these like other more macro concepts that we talked about, because you're just not gonna be able to talk, or you're not gonna be able to think about those and do them effectively if you're like, you know, trying to think about like how to use these spells all the time, or like what items you need to buy.
Yeah, okay. It's the same in League then. Like it doesn't, because I tell people in League the same thing. It doesn't really matter who you pick. Like up until you get like really high rated, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the exact same in DotA.
Even then, there are people who play the same hero like almost every game anyway. You know, like no matter how high they go. So I figured it was pretty similar in Dota. So I just need to pick something I like have a lot of fun on and just spam them pretty much.
Exactly. Sand King is decent. He is difficult and that his laning isn't very strong. The hero does have ways to mitigate it. You just kind of have to like learn what they are so that you don't like get blasted in lane and then not recover, because like that's how you do poorly as Sand King. But the hero can recover even with a bad lane. So like if you kind of figure out that part of how the hero works, like you can pretty consistently have good games as Sand King. Like heroes like Underlord are pretty solid. Like you just kind of can always have a good lane. Like you mentioned, Timber. I don't play a lot of Timber, but that hero can pretty much always have a good lane and can become a monster, so that's a great hero to pick up.
Right. My most played offlaner right now is actually Slardar, but he doesn't push waves terribly fast,
He
which
does
I don't know
not.
how I feel about that, because that's probably because I'm like choosing incorrectly when to leave.
Yeah,
So I'm not
Slardar
like
I think is a very hard hero to play because you're right, he doesn't clear waves. So I think that like if you don't have a good understanding of like the hero, it can be very hard to like be effective with. Like I really like Slardar, and I think he's like there's a lot of cases where he's like not that good. I actually have a Slardar video on my channel too, but it's like a game where we're owning and it goes really well, right? So like
yeah, the Midas game.
yeah, a lot of games don't go
Yeah.
like that, and then it's like what do you do? So yeah, I wouldn't recommend to a new player to pick up like Slardar because like you said, he just there's not really a backup plan if things don't go well on Slardar.
Right. If it feels like if he gets ahead, man, he hits like a truck. But
Mm-hmm.
if you fall behind, it feels like he farms so slowly that it's very hard to catch back up.
That's exactly right. It's yeah.
I
So
had
yeah, stick with
Dragonite
some of
on
the
here.
Dragonite's decent. Um, yeah, Dragonite's
But I was
good.
okay.
It's kind of like
It,
Mars, where you like kind of just have to buy a Soul Ring, and that's how you like farm, so like with your spell and like hitting people. But it's like a very like when you're a Dragonite, you like kind of like lead all your team's moves, or you kind of should be. So you kind of want to play like in that role. You're like the kind of like I mean it's kind of like Mars, right, or Sand King. You're like the blink initiator. But on DK, it's like super important, and you can just like post up outside of towers and like hit them, which is nice. But that would be a
okay.
decent hero as well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like I said, I think we covered a lot. I took notes, so I'll try and work on
Nice.
it, and then I'll probably hit you back up later on.